So in this game, we have Frostveins, Chaos Dwarves, and Sunshine, who is playing Cathay. So this is again still round two of the rat training tournament, and yeah, this should be a good matchup. A lot of shooting on both sides. This matchup can be a little hard for Cathay, because there's sort of like a going to any faction with a lot of armor. There's sort of a race. Can they kill infantry fast enough um, to actually contest the points? So we'll see if that's the case here. But it looks like some of these armies are a little are pretty interesting. So for Frostveins on the Chaos Dwarves, we have Foot Draz with the Burning Wrath item, and I'm guessing he also brought the maybe it doesn't have the Killing Fire, but maybe it doesn't have the Spell Mastery item that you usually bring on Draz that scales with the number of kills Draz has. But we have some skirmishers, a Death Streak, and then for Cathay we have the Shogun Lord of Yin with Missile Mirror, Cloak of Jet, Storm of Shadows. So expecting some shooting duels. Peasant Archers, Jade, front line and back line. Satang should use the ability right away. I don't know if we'll see that. Just to get an idea, like before you move out, just get an idea of what's going on. But okay, so as Cathay, usually you want to be very, you want to have your forces pretty compact so that you can get the harmony. But with Satang, you probably get a lot of, you can put Satang out into the fight and get Satang doing things right away. Okay, there's the Watcher summon, or the Watcher ability. Okay, so let's just say that you're Cathay, you see this army, you notice like these 3 units. We'll probably want to get Satang over here quickly, or perhaps just stay further back from the Death Streak so that we can force the Death Streak to like come forward and then basically like charge at it with Satang. But getting some free pot shots on the Wolf Riders probably doesn't hurt. And then if you're so what might you be thinking about? You're looking at this army as Cathay. We have some Chaos Warriors and we have some armor. Maybe I'm thinking about summoning maybe the Crowman to harass the side. Maybe I'm thinking about summoning some AP missiles like Iron Hails, that kind of thing. And then if you're Chaos Dwarves, looking at the other army, we're seeing like a lot of infantry with Satang. So either you play it one of 2 ways. One, you summon something to try to shut down Satang, like you start saving up for Bull Centaurs, expecting like the lines to meet in the middle and you're going to get on Satang. Or perhaps you're looking at summoning a couple more units of infantry and just, go wide and try to break the position. So there's a couple different options there. You might even consider getting a second Death Streak if your idea is to kill Satang with the Death Streaks, but it's a little bit of a risky proposition because the Satang just has a lot of health. So you're gonna need to shoot at it for a while, and if Satang just kind of pops you a couple times, you're gonna be in trouble.
We have a victory point. Keep it from the foe.
Just curious to see how much damage this Satang does. Yeah, so it doesn't do a lot of damage because they're pretty spread out. They don't really have great targets here. Maybe swinging around to the peasant horseman is the best bet, because the peasant archers kind of outrange them, or have very similar range, and it's going to be hard for them to connect. So just, I don't know, finding a way over here into the back. Alright, so the artillery duel is starting, and like I said, the Satang is now moving forward and can kind of close that distance pretty quickly. So we'll see very quickly these death shrieks will die. And so, okay, so bull centaurs do come out. Maybe not the great weapon variant. So I guess this one is a little bit better of a hybrid unit of fighting infantry and. But yeah, so Satang will win this pretty definitively. If you're going to do this artillery duel, you might need to have it over here and shooting this way and just shoot at infantry or something. If Satang hasn't already, it definitely should use the wind bow on the Iron Sworn, or even the bull centaurs might be a decent target. We don't know that the blunderbusses, we can't target them yet. We might be a little too close to do the. We've moved into the trees. So there is something about trees in this game where if you're like on the edge of the trees, let's see if it works here. Sometimes you can shoot out of and your missile like has a little bit of a grace period. I'm not sure if this is a change that they've like fixed. And maybe it's specific for the death shrieks too. So this death shriek now can shoot Satang, and Satang might have a hard time shooting back. If it is that case, then we probably want to move Satang back and just shoot at infantry and say like, okay, you can't, I'll still get value and you can't really hit me. Because yeah, like even on like bull centaurs, it's going to be doing a lot of work. This damage from the death shriek will add up over time. Blunderbusses should now be engaged here. But yeah, okay, so let's look at the engage here. So we have sort of this line and this line kind of curves around here. Chaos Dwarves have gone pretty wide with some of their chaff, and some of their units here are like better units are engaging now. I think this should be good for the Chaos Dwarves. Maybe, again, if we're Cathay, maybe we want to keep this a little bit more compact. Things are fine now for Cathay. It's not like Cathay is going to have particular problems. But in the later game, especially with like hobgoblins coming in, we're going to want to be, have those archers protected. Because the archers themselves don't do that much damage. That's not really why we bring them. They're okay. Actually, they both have gotten pretty decent value already shooting the hobgoblins. But one of their biggest roles is to provide the harmony, which is a pretty substantial melee buff. So harmony, getting like 6 melee defense extra and 6 melee attack is pretty large. So we definitely, in a lot of ways, want to move this forward. It's pretty substantial. It's not. You definitely don't want to miss out on the harmony buffs. But yeah, maybe just like staying compact and kind of let the Chaos Dwarves bounce off of you while you try to get most of your damage with Satang. Cloak of Jet, pretty good for keeping this thing alive for a little bit longer. And then if you're Chaos Dwarves, I would just keep pushing in the different angles. I think we saw in the last game, one of the last games, where we just found little paths through just to be kind of annoying. And we just break this formation. Cathay has a hard time replacing a lot of these units because like the infantry that you see here is basically all the infantry that Cathay will have in the game. The 5 Jade Warriors are sort of like the backbone. So if we break this position, even if we trade down a little bit, we're going to have a pretty large cap weight advantage, assuming that we have a lot of units as Chaos Dwarves. Bit of a slow grindy fight. Oh wow, that was a lot of damage. Oh, because the blunderbusses are here to bait the Croman. That's pretty clever. I'm not sure if it's worth it per se because they've had to be here for a really long time. But with a combination of the sneaky gets and the chaos blunderbusses, it's great to see that it's just delete the Onyx Croman. That's like a really nice surprise. I've done this where I've kept like a single unit of sneaky gets on top of it, but it's a big investment, right? We have, let's say this unit is still shooting the whole time, so it's getting its value, but we have an extra 500 plus 900, so we have an extra 1400 that is not like engaging in the rest of the fight. It did just kill a Croman, so it has made some returns, but it's not like the most effective, perhaps. Interesting to see the Iron Sworn just being really slow grinder. The Satang has already gotten really good value just shooting at like Bull Centaur units. Let's see if Satang can actually hit the Death Shriek now that Death Shriek has come forward a little bit. Yeah, that's a big shot. So yes, I mean this is looking pretty good for Cathay right now because a lot of the infantry fights have gone well. The Bull Centaurs haven't really connected. Have taken a lot of damage from Satang, and we haven't compromised the missile units. The missile units are now moved up to provide that that harmony bonus nicely. We have it in a couple places, so. This is actually looking, this position's definitely improved for Cathay, and we've kind of cleaned up some threats, and we're looking a lot more secure in our like shooting positions. Satang is looking happier, and yeah, and the infantry for Chaos Dwarves has not completely dried up, but has there's not as many units. So definitely now, as your Chaos Dwarves, you want to be getting these units coming in ASAP. So this is kind of interesting. We're now see the Chaos Dwarf player sort of rotating a lot of forces. We've kind of relinquished some of the control on this side, and now we're summoning mostly to this side. So I think this is good isolation. We see that that Cathay has a lot of troops invested in this side, and so we're come over here to pick off a little bit some of the vulnerable units. Maybe we collapse this flank and suddenly we're just looking at fighting here. We can get a few units. Maybe like look at the value differential. So it's 500 or 600 value difference. If you isolate a pocket like this, with say like let's say you just kill the Jade Warrior with very little damage in return, that's like 700 value, right? So that one move alone can level out the difference. Come over here actually. So some nice rear charges. Collapsing this side. I think if you're Cathay, and this kind of thing occurs, for the most part, we let this happen and we say, okay, well, we, has the windmills gone off? The windmills haven't gone off yet. We just kind of let this, if we can't respond to it, it's a sunk cost. Like if we don't want to throw good money after bad, I think the expression is, where like now we might not be able to do anything about this. We may or may not be able to do anything about this, but let's just think about now most of our summons coming, supporting here, reforming that position. Because again, like, it's not the worst thing in the world if Cathay has this kind of like shooting box, because it's sort of the way that Cathay wants to play anyways. But yeah, so it's kind of like just a point about sunk costs in this game. Storm of Shadows plus the Chroman's pretty nice. And so yeah, I think I would say maybe we don't want this horseman, just in favor of saving up some more funds to reinforce this position over here. Definitely should. The wind bow, by the way, I keep mentioning it. The wind bow is good against centaurs. It's good against infantry. It'll like one shot bunched up infantry. So it's very good. Satang's actually done really well. I think it's probably a pretty nice pick in this matchup because Chaos Dwarves outside of Deathstreak don't really have anything to shut it down, minus maybe some like single entity play. There are usually a lot of good targets. So I'm beginning to worry that we're going to get a similar situation as what just happened over here on point 3, where we had that isolation. Also, look at how many infantry are now here. I'm worried that as Cathay, we're going to get collapsed on by all of these units from this side on this like kind of open flank now, because we unfortunately we don't have infantry supporting. And a part of this issue might be because, like I said earlier, like Cathay just doesn't really have that much effective infantry. But it might make sense in this case to keep a couple peasants just to, fill in some gaps in your formation in the later stages of the game, knowing that they won't really provide good cap weight, but just like if you need to reform a position quickly, just to have a couple peasants. I think I like the peasants to do that more than the Jade Warriors because they're so expensive, and a lot of times in the later game you just want bodies. The Infernal Iron Sworn are finally getting their charges off. Yeah, I mean, I think it's really interesting to say how quickly it feels like all of Cathay's troops have disappeared. And I think that might have something to do with the nature of kind of running low on them. And maybe some of the Onyx Crewmen like just shattering or just crumbling away and not staying. But yeah, it feels like we really need a regroup from Cathay because a lot of the forces have disappeared. One thing that I've actually thought about recently doing is in situations like this. I mean, Satang still has good targets, but when you get to the point where like we need to match cap weight, and I do like Jade Lancers also to provide like kind of mobile cap weight in the middle game. But you actually might want to consider unsummoning Satang. This is kind of a tricky decision, especially because there's still good targets for Satang to shoot at. But there probably will come a time where Satang will still have a little bit of ammo, and it makes more sense to unsummon Satang, get the refund, and then put it into infantry to hold the points. But a really tough thing to do. Both to like see what time it might be beneficial, and then also to do it emotionally. And yeah, and if you're Chaos Dwarves, I think it's fine putting some back pressure on too. I'd probably just prefer that we collapse this position with everything, and say like, yeah, I'm going to like crush the last little pocket of resistance, because like the points are important, but it's not so late in the game that we like absolutely need them. I would just take our short-term advantage in infantry and just try to close out the game. I guess another thing to note. Oh, those were Jade Lancers. I thought Jade Lancers would do better into these Wolf Riders. I think a train right now is kind of a funny summon. I think it makes sense. I wouldn't say this is wrong in any way. But it's funny because I guess it says that like I have enough cap weight. It's funny because it's so late in the game. But I think summoning a train this late in the game says like I have enough cap weight that I'm not worried about getting out capped. You always have to be careful summoning expensive things in the mid to late game because points become relatively more important. But I guess you have enough of a cap weight advantage that you can make it work. Also, just I don't want to beat this to death, but it feels like, just looking at like what's around the battlefield, it looks like Cathay is way down, and I think part of that, the reason that it feels like that is that Satang is like 2200, and the Lord is 1800 or something. So we have a lot of value tied up in these two. So yeah, now we get the infantry. They finally like cycled back into the pool. It's probably correct to summon this, and I think if you're Cathay, I think you're just putting everything here again just to kind of regroup and try to let Satang shoot. I understand why the Cathay player resigned there. Because like there was a lot of stuff on the field. There might have been a chance to come back. Like the goblins do have a tendency to route pretty quickly. So even though there were a lot of goblins still on the field, they're not like incredibly reliable. But I also understand that that you would be fighting from behind as Cathay. So one last quick point about Satang. Satang had 2600 value in this with maybe 3/4 HP. Satang cost 2200. Let's say you get back like a third of its value, then you're still getting 700 extra value for an effective damage dealt of like 3500. So if you unsummon this unit, you're just getting insane value. I think this is a really good take in this matchup. Jade Warriors did pretty poorly, which makes sense because they were fighting sort of like AP armored infantry. This unit actually got pretty good value in the end. The regular bull centaurs didn't seem to do particularly great. Maybe I occasionally bring these to fight single entities, but maybe it's just better to have either the great weapon one or the bonus versus infantry one, depending on. But maybe it was nice to have like the option. Yeah, so I mean, like, this is sort of like the essential Cathay problem, that we need to find our value. Like, this is sort of like Cathay in a nutshell. We need to find our value in our shooting, because our infantry don't tend to really trade up so heavily. We did have one Iron Hail. And the Crowmen are an easy way to lose value, just like Furies. I've say before, because they crumble, I think they're particularly sensitive to leadership or leadership shocks with charges. Yeah, so a really good game. I think what happened was the turning point of that game felt like it was was when the Chaos Dwarf player circled that home point, circled their home point and got that isolation of Cathay, where maybe if Cathay had stayed a little bit more compact and then really used the shooting from Seitang to turn the tide of the battle, while filling in, we do have some spearmen, while maybe filling in the gaps and maybe using an Iron Hail to like keep the Chaos Dwarf player honest. Yeah, really interesting game, and I think this is like a matchup with a lot of interesting dynamics. So I will be thank you to everyone. Definitely leave comments as always. It's useful to like see what other people are thinking about these games, and we'll see you guys next week for the next one. All right, bye.